Today's lesson is about the standard equation of a circle. First of all, let's look at the definition. Definition: the standard form of a circle is the point xy lies on the circle with a center hk and a radius of r, if and only if x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Let's break this down. Alright, let's say I have a circle. I have a point here on the circle. It is x, y. That is my xy coordinate. The center is hk. It's still an xy coordinate. We just can't call it xy. We call it hk. And the radius is the distance from the center to a point on the circle. That is your r, which you should know. HK, some of my students remember that because it goes in the order of Hello Kitty. Hello is your Kitty. So, point outside the circle, the x value of the center, point outside the circle, y value of the center. Okay, the radius is the length from the center to the outside. You know that. Now, another thing I want to point out to you about the equation that is unique is that you can see that it says minus h and minus k. So whatever h and k are, you have to change the sign in the equation for it to be a true mathematical statement. So it's an important thing to remember when we're working on equations. So step 1, find the equation of a circle with the center, -1, 2, and a point on the circle, 3, 4. There's more than one way you can do this, but I think this is the simplest way. We know the center is h and k. We know the point on the circle is the x and the y. The only variable I'm missing is the r, which I could solve for since it's one single variable. So I plug in what I know. 3 minus, 3 is my x, minus h means plus 1 squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Isn't that what I want? I want r squared. So let's solve this. 3 plus 1 is 4 squared, I get 16. 4 minus 2 is 2 squared, I get 4. That gives me 20, which is r squared. Now, I have to write the standard equation of the circle, which means I have to replace a value for h and k and r. Y and x stay in the equation for the final answer. So it'll look like this. X minus h. Well, h is negative, so I have to change its sign, squared, plus y minus, what's k? 2 squared equals r squared. Well, that's 20. That's all I have to do. Next example. Find the equation of a circle whose diameter has the endpoints of -1 or -4, -1, 4, and 1. Alright, so diameter is not needed in our equation, however the radius is. But think about this. The center is the midpoint of a diameter. So I need to find the center, use the midpoint formula to find my center. And then, once I know my midpoint, I can do the distance formula to find the radius. Alright, so first, midpoint. If you recall, midpoint formula says this: x1 plus x2 divided by 2, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. Let's solve this out. -4 plus 4 divided by 2. -1 plus 1 divided by 2. 0 over 2. 0 over 2. That's just 0, 0. That is my center. Okay, if that's the center, so 0, 0 is my h and my k. Alright, I need to know what the radius is. So I need to know the distance between, the center and the endpoint. So I'm going to use the distance formula using these 2 points, 0, 0, and you can use either one. I'm just going to use the positive version of it, 4, 1. x1, y1, x2, y2. So solve it out. 4 minus 0 squared plus 1 minus 0 squared. 4 squared is 16 plus 1 squared is 1. So I have the square root of 17. That is my radius. But in my equation, I want the radius squared. So if I square root of 17, I get 17. So my end result equation says x minus h, which was 0, squared plus y minus k, which was 0, squared, equals r squared, which is 17. Now, you'll notice that the 0 does not make a difference in the equation. If that's the case, if you have zeros in both locations, you can just drop it. And it looks like this: x squared plus y squared equals 17. There's my final answer. Now, find the center of the radius of the circle. X squared plus y squared equals 16. Sketch the graph. All right. We just did an example that should give you a hint on this. So I need to first figure out what is the center and what is my radius. Okay, the center is represented by h and k that is subtracted from my x's and y's. And you will see there's nothing subtracted from x, which would be h. If nothing's subtracted, then the h is the 0. Nothing subtracted from the y, so k is a 0. That's the same as saying this. Just like we did on that previous example, it's the same thing. So my center is 0, 0. The radius, what I know from this equation is that the radius is that r squared is 16. So that means r is 4. So my radius is 4, the center is here. So I can graph this. Here's my center. The radius is 4, it means I have a point here. Well, I know it's a point here, 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 and here. And I'm sorry I can't fit circles there, it's just not letting me. I connect the points. You get the idea. That should be a circle. But there's the rough sketch of it. Okay, let's try this again. Find the center, radius, and sketch. Okay, this one. Remember, this is my h, this is my k. So my center, h is, remember, that's negative, so I have to change the sign. It's 1/2, positive 1/2. My k is negative, so I have to switch the sign, so it's a 1/2. And the radius, what I know is that r squared is 9/4. Well, take the square root of both sides. That means r is square root of 9, which is 3. Square root of 4 is 2. So the radius is 3/2. So I look on my graph. If the center is 1/2, there's 1/2 and 1/2. So here's my center. The radius is 3/2, so it's 1.5. So I go 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, 1.5. So if I can connect these, there's my circle. Yours will have points. My pointer's not working. On example 5, I want you to do this in the notes. Look at example 1 in your notes. It's very similar to this problem. You're going to find the equation of a circle with a center of 5, -2, and a point on the circle of 0, 4. In your whisk, I'm going to ask you to tell me what is the value for r squared. Okay, what is the value for r squared in your final answer? That's the whisk question. Okay, complete that and we'll see you in class.